In this video, I'm going to give you a detailed view of how to create Tableau calculated fields. So my data set, this is the Walmart sales data set from 2012 to 2015, is already imported into Tableau. And when there's so many data fields like this data set, sometimes it's easier just to look at it in Excel. You can see we have a unique identifier for each order. We have sales, we have the profit of each sale, where the client lives, and also the ship date. So let's go ahead and hypothetically say that Walmart wants to identify inefficiencies in their packing process. So they want to know the time it takes between the order date and the ship date. And so we can do this in Excel, but let's say we want to do this all within the Tableau environment. So we're going to have to use a calculated field to complete this. I'll go in here and let's say, create calculated field. And so we're going to be using the date diff function. But first, before we do that, let's create a short yet scripted title. So order to ship time days. So we want the days. And so we're going to use the date diff function. So in order to call function, the Tableau auto complete feature is very useful. So it's our third option here. And it's going to come up here with parentheses, and so the arguments is going to be the first argument. The date diff takes 3 arguments. So the first argument, and you can see here they're separated by commas. The first argument is going to be the time, the units of time between the start date and the end date. And so we want days. I believe it's either day. I'm not sure if it's plural. I think it's day. Let's try that. And the start date is going to be the order date. See, it's already right here. It's one of our data fields. And then the ship date. So down here, Tableau will compile the function in real time, and it will tell you if it's valid or not. And if it's not valid, like for example, if the parentheses is missing, then it will say it contains errors, and then it will tell you, it will give you a description as to why it's throwing an error and how to fix it. And so Tableau is telling me expected closing parentheses or comma. And so when I input the closing parentheses, the error goes away. And so let's see what this does. Click OK. And there's a new calculated field. And the best way to validate that this was created correctly was to go to our data source, and the new calculated fields will be on the rightmost data fields in the data sources. So let's see. So for the first row, ship date is January 3rd. And then our order date was January 1st. So 2 days looks good to me. Let's see here for a week. So if the ship date is January 10th, then the order date should be January 3rd. Here it is. Let's see, January 3rd, looking good. So that's how you use the date diff function when creating calculated fields. Let's go with the max profit. Let's try creating that. And so that's one of our aggregates. So if we go to create calculated field here, a max profit, and then we'll call the max function, and then our profit. And let's see what that gets us. So if we want to call the max profit, so now that we create our max profit calculated field, once we drag over the text, then it will call the maximum amount of profit from the whole data set. You can see here that the max profit is called for in this level of detail. The max this will go for the max profit for each individual row, which is there's only one profit per row, and so it's going to bring over the profit of each row. But then if we aggregate it in this to text, then it will retrieve the maximum profit for the entire spreadsheet of that data field. So that's why we get the 27,221 value. And we can do the same thing with the minimum as well. You can see that we're in the red here, negative $14,141 is our minimum profit. And so now let's create a new order ID. So let's see, we have an order ID here with just numbers, but what if we wanted the first letter of the state that of the client, let's see, so that's going to be here in the state data field, and then the first letter of the region. So that might get confusing, so we'll add that to the end. So let's see, let's go here, order. We can also go to the calculate field menu via the data sources menu here. So let's call this order ID new. And so in order to get the first letter of the state, we're going to call the left function state, and then we want the first letter of state. And then to show you how this function works, then you could, if this goes to 2, then it would take MA, 3, MAR, and so forth from the left. So left state 1 plus, we're going to give it, no space, then order ID, and then what do we say for the first letter of the region? Let's see, why is this yelling? Okay. And then that's also the first letter right there. Add string and integer values. And so it looks like the order ID is a numerical value, and strings and numbers can't be put together, but we can change this to a string value with the str function, and now our calculation is valid. So just for clarity, the str function converted this numerical measure to a string value just for this calculated field. I didn't change the field itself, but I just changed it just for this calculated field. Let's see, where is It's right here. Here we go. So it looks like everything checks out. This should be Maryland and then East. M for Maryland. Then East, E for the region. And that's a new field, all within the Tableau environment. And for the last demonstration, let's say that our client wants to, or the person that we're creating the Tableau dashboard for, wants us to divide the profit into 3 sections. So negative profit would be considered anything below $0 profit. Moderate profit would be considered a category between $0 and $500, and then high profit would be greater than 500. So for this, we're going to need to create an if statement. Let's go here, and we'll create a calculate field. Profit categories. Remove that. And so we can divide this into 3 categories with an if statement. So this is follow along with the logic here. So if profit is less than 0, then negative profit. And then we'll go with else if. So we have another logic statement to execute. So if profit is greater than 0 and profit is less than 500, then moderate profit. Else, if profit is greater than greater than or equal to 500, then high profit. Then end. Let's walk you through the structure here. So if it's just a logical series of events that we're coding in the calculated field. So if profit is less than 0, then the profit is categorized as negative. Else if profit is greater than 0 and less than 500, then it's a moderate profit. Else if profit is greater than or equal to 500, then high profit, and then end. So all if statements need to have an end statement. That's very important. And also, like, keep in mind the operators here, greater than or equal to. And so let's see, what in a scenario that we want a profit is 0, so greater than, or we'll include 0 here as negative. What's not negative? So take that out. So greater than or equal to. We'll put in the middle statement here. And we'll see what happens. Negative profit, moderate profit. Looks like it worked. And so you may be thinking, well, how would I know all these functions and all the if statements? But it's really just practice, and it's also referencing the Tableau website, and also use this side tab as well. And you can, for reference, test a series of expressions returning the then value of the first state true. And this is very useful as it gives an example for each situation on when to use these functions, and this is very helpful if you don't remember the syntax. And also a good point is if you have two situations when you're running the calculation, when you have an and or statement, then you need to retype the data field twice. So this would not be correct, where you only have profit once. It needs to be retyped again after the and statement. And now we can create a bar graph. Profit categories. Columns. And profit. We can see that obviously the profit here is negative. Moderate profit is moderate, and high profit is high. So that is your detailed dive into calculated fields.